Okay, so we are now live on YouTube, Mr. Chair. So you may begin.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I want to call to order a special city council meeting, September 24th, 2020. This is to discuss and act on resolution number 12. Before we call the roll, I do want to inform council that Councilwoman Amy Keller has resigned, and we will discuss this further at our pre-council meeting. Thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Miller,
Here.
Mr. Morales,
Here.
Mr. Wertz,
Here.
Chairman Carey,
Here.
Here, all present in council. Okay, we have resolution number 12 on the table from the July 27th meeting. We need to make a motion to remove resolution number 12 from the table. Do I hear a motion to remove resolution number 12 from the table?
I'll make a motion to remove resolution 12 from the table.
Okay, I will second that. Okay, to remove resolution number 12 from the table has been moved in second. With the clerk call the roll and we can vote on this, please.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Morales,
Yes.
Mr. Wertz,
Yes.
Chairman Carey,
Yes, resolution number 12 to be removed from the table from the July 27th meeting has been so moved. Now, we need to make a. I need to hear a call to adopt resolution, a motion to adopt resolution number 12. And that would be approving the transfer of a liquor license to 640 Lebanon Food Corp. In Lebanon, PA. Do I hear a motion to adopt resolution number 12?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 12.
Okay, I will so second that motion. Okay, now resolution number 12 has been moved and second. We need to have discussion on that before we vote. Mayor, could we start with you on that, please?
Sure. So just to kind of give a brief recap, a hearing was held on July 23rd of 2020 in accordance with section 461(b)(3) of the Pennsylvania Liquor Code to consider the transfer of a restaurant liquor license from South Lebanon Township into the city of Lebanon, specifically 640 North 7th Street in the city. The applicant proposes to and will utilize the liquor license to provide additional offerings of beer and potentially wine to its existing grocery store. The city, just again to recap our hearing, the city had received correspondence from Judy Plummer at 600 Canal Street, who is a nearby property owner, voicing objections to the license transfer. And we also had our city code enforcement supervisor, who is also the eating and drinking sanitation inspector, presented findings of failed inspections up to the July hearing. Basically, council did not feel comfortable in authorizing the transfer at that time. They asked for additional time, not to exceed 60 days, to render a decision. This additional time was to provide the applicants with an opportunity to show that they could operate the grocery store in compliance with the City of Lebanon codes, including food safety, building and zoning, and whatnot. I guess at this point, I'd ask if my staff could fill you in on what has transpired since the July hearing. And then at that point, we could hear from the applicant to give their comments at that time, if that works for you. So Glenn?
Okay, good evening, everyone. So I went in July 2 different times and had numerous violations that were mostly repeat violations. It's been a lot of the same things over and over for the past year and a half. Then after this hearing, They contacted me. They wanted to improve in their food safety. And they were looking for some consultant or somebody to help them with food safety. I tried reaching out to someone that I thought might be able to help them, but he wasn't available. So, and I did get them information for ServSafe, and actually helped to set up a class in Spanish that's being taught by Penn State Extension down at the Lebanon Fairgrounds. But I went for another inspection on August 13th. And at that time, there was significant improvement. They were doing the things that they said, like with the paperwork for checking and recording temperatures every day. And everything was quite a bit better. There was only a few violations on that day. 3 to be specific. And so then I went back a month later on September 15th, and I was very disappointed because a lot of the improvement that I saw in August was not there in September. The main things that I found this time was they had a shopping cart in the meat department. It was a plastic shopping cart that had been like from Big Lots. And it was visibly not clean, and they had chicken, raw chicken that they were packaging for sale in the shopping cart. And I asked them what would make anybody think that a shopping cart is for food contact. You know, it's outside where it could have bird droppings or anything in it. So all that chicken was discarded. And the other thing that was concerning, the paperwork that they were supposed to be doing every day that they agreed to when they answered the warning letter that we had sent them in May of 2019. So they were filling that out when I was there in August, but when I went on the 15th of September, it hadn't been filled out since the 9th of September. So it was a whole week. And that was exactly the same at 2 different places, in the meat cutting room and also in the food prep area. And the other one that was concerning was that Alvis, one of the managers, when I was in the meat room, I went out to the retail area and then I saw him searching on the shelf where they keep the prepackaged, like prepackaged sausage, like Hillshire Farms and that type of sausage. And he was looking through it for expired items. So what's concerning, and this is what I've talked about with them over and over, is that if something, like they know the things they're supposed to be doing. Because right there's an example of where he went out and was looking for expired stuff while I was there in the store, and he thinks that that's the next place I'm going to be headed. But they're not doing these things on a daily basis, and that's the problem there. So needless to say that that inspection was out of compliance again. So then I went back this week on the 22nd, and then there was good improvement. They had bought they got rid of the shopping carts out of the meat department. They bought metal racks, nice stainless steel food equipment. They really had things cleaned up a lot. The biggest thing that I saw this time when I was there was, and this is something I've been talking to them about for several months, is that people put gloves on and then they do every task. And so like I saw someone wiping up the floor with a paper towel in the food prep area with gloves on, and then they don't change the gloves. So we don't even need gloves on to be wiping up the floor, or we shouldn't have them on because it's less likely you'll wash your hands afterwards. And then another employee from the meat room was on break, and he was on his cell phone with his gloves on, and then went back to the room. So these are things that the management, like I'm saying, over and over, everything I'm seeing there is that the managers should be looking at these things. If I can go and see the guy on break from the meat cutting area on his phone with gloves on, they should be looking and seeing the same exact things. So that's really what the problem is. But they have made good physical improvements. So there's two parts to food safety: the behavioral things, which really requires management oversight, and the physical location and conditions. So they're making improvements on one, and it's hit or miss on the other one, I would say. They know the right things, they're just not enforcing them.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
Attorney Berger has his hand raised. May we recognize him?
sure. Oh, wait, Glenn, are you finished?
Yes, I'm finished.
Okay,
Okay,
thank
Attorney-
you for your report. Thank
Sorry.
you. Okay, Mr. Berger could speak.
Thank you. You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So with regards to some of those violations he mentioned, yes, they are making physical improvements. I believe I dispersed a letter this afternoon that showed some of those physical improvements. With regards to the behavioral improvements, I would represent that they are trying the best that they can. They are certainly reprimanding these people. They can't be there at all times seeing these things. I certainly want to make a comment where he noted in his statement that the issue with the gloves is something that he's seen all the time and mentioned multiple times, but that's not listed as a repeat violation in the food report. So my concern is how much that actually goes on. But that being said, they're reprimanding these people. They can't have somebody on top of them at all times. But if these people are caught doing things that they shouldn't be doing, they are being reprimanded. That butcher, for example, was in fact reprimanded for the gloves issue, not washing his hands, and those types of things.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mayor, is there anyone else from your staff that needs to speak?
Yes, so I would like Robin Getz, the Public Works Director, to go ahead, Robin.
So at the July meeting, I believe I had mentioned that we had noticed substantial amount of work that was continuing without proper permitting. With this being a commercial establishment, they are required to submit signed sealed drawings for each segment of permitting that they are applying for. We had gotten reports that there was work being done in the basement area, specifically demolition of some type of an old freezer unit. They were contacted through the code, our inspection agent, which would have been CCIS, Commonwealth Code Inspection Services. He made a stop. He had them cease work. He informed them that they required a permit to continue doing any other additional work. It was noted that there was a new header above one of the exterior doors, which would be or could be a structural issue. We had never received a demolition permit. We did receive a permit for a dumpster, an enclosed dumpster with a 10-foot fencing, which requires a code permit. Again, I had made an inquiry, and unfortunately, it is a commercial property. Everything needs to be documented appropriately because the city is ultimately responsible for any labor and industry audits that are conducted each year. So it ended up that he withdrew his request for the dumpster. I understand that they made accommodations interiorly for that. So, and he also said they would not be doing any further demolition. So with that being said, they had removed trees from the perimeter of their property. That is a saldo requirement that trees must be kept in perpetuity. They were made aware of that. I had contacted them several times for a planting plan. I finally received a pencil copy of a planting plan that I reviewed with our Shade Tree Commission, who is the experts in our field for this. We had gone back multiple days with email exchanges to get a planting schedule prepared using native species. I in turn provided the updated list to them of the trees that were recommended that had the highest survival rate under the conditions that they were exposed to. They originally had said that they would like to put in river birch and some dogwoods and a variety of low growing yews. I did note that they had done planting. I did take a look at what was there. And unfortunately, they planted exactly what the Shade Tree Commission had requested that they not plant. I don't believe there is a one native tree there. So, you know, that is now a remaining open item. They've planted a species that its survival rate is low to none. That actually thrives in more wet areas. So unfortunately, if those trees die, they again will need to do a replanting. The last thing and the most recent thing that I've been dealing with is they have a grease trap that was located in the sink of the meat department area that had problems. And I am told that a reputable plumber was in and did a full replacement of the grease trap unit. They took the grease trap unit and moved it from the upstairs location down into the basement area and reinstalled it at that location, which I'm not questioning the fact that it was a necessity. However, again, it is a permit requirement that needs to be permitted. Further, I had to end up notifying the authority because those waters discharge into their systems under their ownership and maintenance. So they're now involved to make sure that those discharge and organic particulates do not exceed the BOD counts that they need to track. Again, no permit. So the problem I have from my department is they have continually done work. We've had the repeated problem of permitting being required, the repeated problem of sign seal drawings being required as a commercial building, and yet we still don't get permits. Now, he did submit a permit after I had sent a notification on the grease trap, and I actually just received that back from the inspection agency this morning, so I will be processing that. But again, I had to reach out to him several times to get the information that was needed in order to process a permit, and that was one of the easy permits. But it took 4 times of contact to get it resolved. And that is what we see, is the constant having to go back and, you know, try over and over and over to get things remedied.
Okay, thank you, Robin, for your report. Mayor, is there anything else from the city side?
I don't know if the attorneys for Ideal would like to respond.
Yeah, I'm going to ask them, Mr. Berger or Mr. Diaz, if they would care to say anything. This would be their time. And Robin and Glenn, thank you very much for your continued thorough job that you're doing for the city. Thank you.
So you need to raise your hand if you'd like to speak. So if anyone from Ideal or representatives, okay. Okay, Attorney Berger.
Just before going any further, is everyone done testifying on behalf of the city? Are there any more city employees that need to provide testimony?
The only thing is, I'm just going to remind council what they must do before they vote. Is it okay if I do that after you're done?
As long as there's no additional testimony, that's all. I just want to make sure I respond to everything that's been testified to today.
The only thing that I had was, one of the things that we're supposed to, provide information on are the uses surrounding the property. And there is a senior center and 2 elderly housing facilities adjacent or nearby the facility. That's the only thing I have. Besides giving council, an explanation, or description of what they must do to approve or deny the transfer. That's the only other information that I have.
Okay, if there's no additional testimony, then I merely will point out that the purpose of this intermunicipal transfer is to determine whether or not the applicant's sale of alcohol would be injurious to the health, safety, or welfare of the neighborhood. There is ample parking at the premises. They're sufficient within zoning. There's ample ingress and egress from the property. There is nothing with regards to the property itself that adding sales of beer and possibly wine would injure the neighborhood. With regards to the health violations, again, there's mixed testimony of they're showing improvement with the physical things, but there's also a behavioral component that also needs improvement. I think we can agree that with regards to behavioral improvements, that's not something that can be done overnight and also takes time. With training of employees, you have an influx of employees, all of those things take time to get resolved. They have done physical things to the property to fix up the property. They've installed the strip warmers. They've immediately responded to any concerns the health inspector has had. I've provided photos showing those things. I've provided copies of the last 2 reports. Generally, I don't believe that any of these items, especially with concerns with permitting, is anything that's going to be injurious to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood with regards to selling alcohol. They're not going to be open past 2 a.m. This is not going to have something that's going to have live music. It is merely adding off-premises sales of alcohol. Off-premises sales of alcohol from that establishment is not going to injure the health, safety, and welfare of the surrounding community.
Mr. Chair, I'm not, Attorney Berger, are you done?
Yes.
Okay, so Commissioner would like to say something.
I did an inspection in regards to the fire code at the facility.
Well, I'm sorry, didn't I ask right before the start that everyone is done testifying through the
I
city?
raised my hand and it wasn't acknowledged.
Okay, I apologize.
Yeah. I did an inspection about 3 weeks after the hearing. I'm sorry, 3 weeks prior to this hearing tonight, looking through the requirements of the fire code. Of interest and not corrected was the addition of panic hardware on 2 rear exit doors, exit signage that would direct patrons outside of the building from the rear. The both rear exit doors on the north side and the south side onto Canal Street have a magnetic lock that can only be operated with with someone with a fob. They were made to help with the employees, but they in fact don't open when a patron gets there. There's some mechanism or a code or something you can put into the door to get it to release, but it's a violation of the fire code. It's a physical barrier. I do not know if that has been corrected, and the exit signage was not adequate with the additional doors that were placed in the back. There were small rooms that were constructed in the back to I'm not sure why they did that, but it's not wrong, but they added new door frames in the back that are not marked. If you're standing in the middle of the store, there's no visible exit sign to the rear of the store to say, come here, I need out. The place does have an emergency generator, which is supposed to operate the lights. I did not verify that without shutting the store down to demonstrate. But at this time, the fire code requirements are not taken care of.
Okay, so one of the owners, Jeremy Diaz, has raised his hand to talk.
If I can just add one, I apologize, just one quick question for the fire chief. Do you know if these issues were things that existed before my clients took ownership?
The magnetic locks were not, to my knowledge. I don't recall those being there. I think those are new. And there's nothing wrong with them, but I instructed Mr. Diaz that there should be a panic hardware should be installed on those doors. And you can have the panic hardware that does sense the touch of skin that would release those magnetic locks. As of right now, if you're inside there, you'd need special instructions to open the door to leave the building. And that's a violation of the fire code. Mr. Diaz and I spoke about that. I do not know if they took action to correct that.
Did they receive any written notice of violation?
Well,
It was a
I'd like
fire.
to add something. Go ahead, Dwayne, I'm sorry.
It was an active fire inspection. We don't do notices of violation until they don't receive compliance when we re-inspect.
Have you re-inspected?
I have not been there within the last, it must have been 2 weeks ago. I've not been there. I do not know if they complied. Nor did Mr. Diaz call me or indicate that he has complied.
So I'd like to add that with this coming out, these are things that would typically get reviewed and discussed and approved with permit applications, but no permit applications have been received. So that's part of the problem. So that's typically, again, what would happen during a review process and permitting process. Mr. Chair, if it's okay, I'm going to allow the owner, Jeremy Diaz, to speak.
That would be great. Thank you, Mr. Diaz.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hi. Just a quick comment in response to Dwayne. Yeah, they was all those corrections were made. We removed the magnetic locks. We put in the correct exit signs where he instructed us to. Illuminated 24/7. So those were corrected. I did call Dwayne yesterday on his cell phone and I left him a voicemail. But he hasn't responded.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, if no one else has any other testimony, I'd like to just summarize what council needs to do to either approve or disapprove.
Yes, I should also, though, ask if there's any questions from media. Do you want to do that before or after, Mayor?
Sure.
Before?
You can take the media or the public.
Okay, is there any questions on this from the media?
No.
Any questions from the public?
No.
Mayor, if you would be kind enough to summarize, then we'll go to a vote.
Okay, so Act 2006-155, that's where you find the language for the municipality to refuse a request to transfer if that's what's so desired, or, to approve. It's what the items that you look at to determine what your decision, how you would like to vote. So basically, just like Attorney Berger had indicated, you're looking at, would this transfer of a liquor license to this location adversely affect the welfare, health, peace, and morals of the city or its residents? Some of the things that you can use as reasons to deny if that is your decision would be if there are types of properties near the proposed location, like schools, churches, public housing, or other types of businesses in the area that you believe could be negatively affected. The hours of operation of the location of the transfer. Have there been other issues with the property previously, like with crimes or code violations? The lighting in the area, the crime history in the vicinity of the business, traffic issues like accident history, heavily traveled area. Are there security issues with the property, and any concerns with potential liability to the city if the transfer is approved? Now, you have to look at what testimony was provided to you, and if any of those items, if you felt that you had a concern that it would have an adverse impact. So that's what you're deciding tonight. You're looking at all the testimony that was provided in the hearings to decide how you would like to vote. So those are the items that you would need to consider.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Is there any questions from council on this? before we vote? Okay, hearing none, resolution number 12 has been moved and second. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Miller,
No.
Mr. Morales,
No.
Mr. Wertz,
No.
Chairman Carey,
Unfortunately, no. So resolution number 12 has been so defeated. Mayor, I would like to say this, if I may. My personal visit to the Ideal Food Basket found the owners enthusiastic and motivated about the store and the community. My desire is to see them consistently address these safety and health issues so they can grow and expand to the level they are seeking. The city continues to stay committed to helping the Ideal Food Basket achieve compliance and good inspection reports on these Pennsylvania state rules and regulations. And I thank everyone for their commitment. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, if I may add,
Yes.
I also took a tour of the facilities. The owners were present, and I agree with you. They were very committed to the store, and I guess I'm very disappointed in what's transpired. So it would be my hope that they could become more consistent, like you indicated, and we'll do whatever we can on the city's end through helping them with education or whatever we need to do to try and help them to be consistent with meeting and complying with permitting and food safety requirements.
And we look forward to seeing them move to the next level. Thank you. Okay. Mayor, do I need to have a vote to end this special city meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to close this special city meeting?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, this special
Aye.
meeting's so closed. Thank you very much. Okay, we are going to move to a public hearing, September 24th, 2020. This is regarding the CDBG budget amendment. And I believe Ms. Janelle is the first person to talk to us. Thank you.
Hi. So what the public hearing is we're going to be taking unused prior year funds that we received as entitlements, and then we're going to rebudget them to street improvements. So to give a little background, there might be unused funds because we received extra program income in a certain year, and so we used what we budgeted, but it was some entitlement and some in program income. So that's how a lot of the times we have unused funds. Additionally, we have some slow moving activities, and so we have a timeliness compliance. So in order to meet those requirements, we have to spend X amount of dollars within a time period. So when we have some slow moving activities, we just have to rebudget and move to the activities that like street improvements that are fast moving activities that we constantly have projects for. So for the rebudget of unused funds, we would be taking $103,288.20 of 2014 and prior year funds. We will also be rebudgeting $72,848.16 from 2016 funds, and those were unused funds from our first-time home buyer and rehab line item. And then from 2016 as well, we had $4,637.74 of administration that was unused. So that gives a total of $180,774.10 that we would like to rebudget to fund to give extra funding to street improvements for the fiscal year 2020.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Janelle.
You're welcome.
Mayor, was there anything else you needed to add to that?
Actually, no.
Okay. Is there anybody from council that has any questions on that reallocation of CDBG funds? Okay,
Nope.
any questions from the media?
Yes, Laura. And Chris Coyle. So Laura, if you'd like to go first.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could give a little bit more defined description of what the street improvements that you envision with this $180,000 would entail.
So we have not finalized that yet until after this is approved, but we will probably be looking at the Lehman Street area.
Is that repaving or like fixing potholes or?
Resurfacing from
Resurface-
cartway to
okay.
the cartway. So from
Okay.
curb to curb.
Okay,
And what we're proposing to do is we want to do all of Lehman Street over the next several years. So we'll be starting at one end and working our way to the other end. So we're not sure, depending on what the bid price would come in, how far we'd get done, but we're proposing to start on the western end. We just need to check with our utility companies. This was kind of a last minute thing that we were able to, hopefully if council votes for this, rebudget these items and get more money into the resurfacing. So we have a little bit of work to do before we can finalize it. But that's what our intention is to do.
is this money, having it available, not having used it in the prior budgeted years, is that unusual? Is this a normal thing, or is this just kind of a fluke?
No, it's somewhat normal. It happens fairly often. It's just that it will be years before you rebudget it.
Okay, thank you.
And Chris Coyle has a question as well. Go ahead, Chris.
Let me hit unmute here. Am I unmuted?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. The proposed or possible resurfacing of Lehman from end to end, west to east, will that, like the current Walnut Street project, trigger utility companies repairing or laying new mains and laterals and lines and so forth?
Anytime we resurface, yes, it could. Now,
Yeah.
there was a lot of work that was done on Lehman Street in the past, but that's something that we need to, the Public Works Director will need to meet with the utilities to determine, exactly where we are with that. So that's why I'm saying this is just in the discussion
Sure.
part of this. Yeah.
Sure. So could that also possibly, and I understand this is just in discussion and very preliminary, also require landowners whose sidewalks front on Lehman to possibly do recurbing like some are being required on Walnut Street?
Well, with our past experience on Walnut Street,
Yeah.
because of COVID and some other reasons, it's been more difficult for our residents to comply with that. And
Yeah.
for the Walnut Street, it was really a PennDOT requirement that they did not want to mill more than, we had requested
Yeah.
more milling. And
Yeah.
so I don't know if Robin can explain this better than I can, but
Yeah.
you can do different variations in the
Right.
milling and
Right.
get by without having to do that. So that's what we're going to see if we can request, but we have to do more core sampling to determine what's underneath the street and how deep the curb
Yeah.
extends underneath the street. So
Yeah.
it would require more upfront pre-testing,
Okay.
which would require a little bit more money on the city's part, but
Yeah.
we need to also, do an inspection of the existing curbs on Lehman Street to see, overall, what is the general condition of them.
Right.
So all of those things, all those factors kind of come into play And those are the
Right.
meetings that we need to have after, hopefully this gets approved.
No, I understand this is all very preliminary. One final question, the 180,774.10. Is there still some flexibility? I mean, is it locked into street repaving, or does the city have some latitude as far as how to use that?
Well,
If needs change.
we have some latitude, but we made the decision that we would like to put it towards street resurfacing. So
Sure.
that's why we had to hold the public hearing so that we could reallocate it to a certain category. So that's
So
what
it's
we are
been-
proposing.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you. So today's action, or if it's approved, I guess it hasn't been approved yet, but that would reallocate it specifically for street improvements. Am I right or wrong about that?
You are correct. And it would
Okay.
actually increase the total allocation for street improvements to $320,256.10.
For fiscal 20.
Right.
What was that number again, please?
$320,256.10.
That's all I have. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. I see no other questions.
Okay, any other questions from council on this public hearing? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to call this public hearing closed. Okay, pre-council meeting, September 24th, 2020. Thank you for all being here. First of all, we have assignment of prayer, and that goes to Brother Richard. Okay, great, thank you. Minutes and budget report have been sent out to council. Mayor, is there anything you'd like to bring us up to date on the budget with?
Sure. So 60% of the budget year has been completed. Our revenues are at 74%, expenditures at 49%. And although we are performing better than budget overall, we definitely are under budget in certain categories of our revenues, which I've talked about this for the last few months, like permitting, code violations, building rentals, meter revenue. These are things that, we continue to look at and trying to continue to cut expenses wherever we can, not knowing the full impact yet of COVID. We know again that the PPP program definitely had a significant positive impact on our earned income tax. And we're just kind of waiting it out, I guess you could say, to see how the fourth quarter and first quarter of next year, how kind or unkind that will be to us. So we're continuing to be conservative with cutting the expenditures, looking to see what we can do to increase revenues wherever we can, which, our hands are a little bit more tied in that area. And working through the budget process for next year now and trying to keep those things in mind as we go through the process.
Okay. Mayor, thank you for the report. Does anyone from council have any questions on the budget report? Okay, and we'll have further details on Monday about that. Mayor, thank you for your staff keeping your pencils very sharp. Thank you. We will on Monday have a department update from our Fire Commissioner, Dwayne Troutman. And that brings us on the agenda to communications. And the first communication is from Mayor Sherry Capello regarding an email resignation sent to her by Amy Keller dated 9/22/20. Mayor, would you like to elaborate on that, please?
Yes. Give me 1 second. I apologize. I misplaced it, but here we go. I'll read it from my phone. Dear Council, oh, that was me. Sorry, I have to bring up the attachment. Okay. Dear Mayor Capello, members of City Council and Lebanon City residents, this letter serves to signal my formal resignation from Lebanon City Council. I have recently relocated and now reside outside the city. Therefore, I must vacate my position on council. I am grateful to all the city residents who afforded me the opportunity to serve And I wish Lebanon City the very best of continued growth and success. Most sincerely, Amy Keller.
Okay. Mayor, I understand council needs to make an emotion to adopt, accept Ms. Keller's resignation.
I guess,
And-
Cheryl, would we do that Monday night or would council do that?
Well, you don't take a motion on communications. I think you just
Okay.
accept it at Monday night's meeting.
Accept
Do
it
that at Monday nights?
meeting?
Right.
Okay. Is that,
No motion's needed. You'll just accept her letter like any other communication.
okay, you say a motion is needed though?
No.
Not needed. Okay, we'll just accept that as a communication. And we do that at Monday's meeting?
Yes.
You say, okay, thank you very much. Okay. I personally want to thank Mrs. Keller for her dedication and willingness to serve the people of Lebanon as a member of our city council. And I know council extends our very best wishes for her future endeavors. Okay, continuing on communications is from Mayor Sherry Capello informing council of the reappointment of James Fick to the City of Lebanon Planning Commission for a 4-year term effective September 14th, 2020. He has served on the Planning Commission since July 10th, 2015.
And actually, he has a lot more experience with zoning matters than that. When I was the chief zoning officer for county planning, Mr. Fick served on South Lebanon Township Zoning Hearing Board for a very long time, and that's where I was first introduced to him. So he has a great background in zoning and land development, and it's really an honor to have him serve on our planning commission, as well as he was a former council member as well. So
Yes,
he is.
we thank him. We thank him for his willingness to serve the community very much. Thank you. Okay. Also, we have a communication of, from the Director of Administration Assistant to the Mayor, Melissa Quiones, transmitting notice of the 2021 minimum municipal pension plan contributions. And that is for the police, $1,188,422, and for the fire, $292,072, and non-uniform $0. Mayor or Melissa, would you bring us up to date on that, please?
Sure. So this is something we're required to do every year. Every 2 years, we have an actuarial evaluation performed, and that's what they base the MMO on. Just to kind of give you a brief background, because the police contribution or minimum contribution into the plan is a lot higher this year. Last year, the pension board had agreed on a recommendation that was submitted from the actuary to change the mortality assumption on the plan. And basically, it was a recommendation that was made by the Society of Actuaries. They published a mortality table that was specific for the public safety sector. It was based upon plan experience from just that sector. So they felt that was a truer representation. And I would have to agree with that. So as a result of that assumption change, it increased the MMO by almost $70,000. Additionally, the investment return in 2017 was not quite 15%, which that was good. But unfortunately in 2018, and we all know what 2018 did, we had a negative 4.67% return. So unfortunately, when they do their actuarial valuation, it's a snapshot of the end of the year. And at the end of the year for 2018, we had that loss. So there was an actuarial loss on the plan during that 2-year period of time, as well as some other minor factors that we are now experiencing an increase in the MMO. This would represent the first year of that increase. So again, that's for a 2-year period of time. It's about 300. I did have it written down here. $312,006 more than last year's MMO. The fire's contribution is about $12,000 more. And of course, non-uniform remains at zero because it's overfunded. So that will be a nice chunk of change in the budget. So just so you know ahead of time,
Okay.
that's all I
Thank
have.
you. Any questions on these communications from council? Any questions from the media?
Yes, Laura. Go ahead, Laura.
Thank you. I guess it just begs the question, what is the procedure to fill the vacancy left by Ms. Keller's resignation?
Okay. Mr. Chair, would you like me to?
Sure, go ahead, Mayor.
So we are advertising in a couple of days to accept resumes. They should be given to the city clerk, Cheryl Gibson. And trying to find my dates here. So we are planning to have interviews on Tuesday, October 13th, starting at 4 p.m. We're going to accept resumes until October 8th at the end of the day. And that will give us an opportunity to get them out to city council so they may review all of them. We will stagger appointments again, starting at 4 o'clock. And we have gotten permission from the county commissioners to hold the interview process in the county's auditorium in the basement. And that way it will be open to the public, since we will have a quorum of council to do the interview. And we'll make sure that everyone is socially distanced by their 6 feet. It's already marked and they'll have to wear their mask. And council will interview them and then make a decision at a special council meeting on Thursday, October 22nd at 4:45 p.m. That would be a Zoom meeting and a special meeting immediately prior to the pre-council meeting. Just so everyone's aware, this appointment would be only good until the next election. The person would have to, if they chose to, run for election next year. There is not enough time for this to get into this election cycle, so it would have to go into next year's election cycle. And so this appointment would take the person through to the first Monday in January of 2022. And then if they were successful, if they chose to run for election, they would serve out the remaining term of Amy's, which would be another 2 years. So, and if that person did not win the election, the new person would again just fill the unexpired portion of the term, which is 2 years, would be 2 years. Council's required to fill the vacancy within 30 days of when she gave her letter. She gave her letter on September 22nd. So they would have until October 22nd to appoint someone.
And the appointment doesn't, it wouldn't have to be a Democrat necessarily. I mean, she was the lone Democrat.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Okay, any other questions concerning communications?
No.
Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on our agenda to resolutions. And the first resolution is amending the annual plan for the Community Planning and Development Program with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for the year 2020 to reflect the allocation of unused funds from year 2014 and prior to for year 2016 for street improvements. This is what our public hearing was about. Do I hear who would like to take that resolution?
I can take it.
Was that Joe?
Yep.
Thank you, Joe. Mr. Morales, thank you. Okay, our second resolution, it would be authorizing the proper official of the City of Lebanon to grant application with the Commonwealth Financing Authority for a multimodal transportation fund grant for the streetscape project along Cumberland Street from 4th Street to 12th. The grant is $2,426,500 with a local match of $319,750. Mayor, do you want to just bring us up to date on that, please?
Sure. So we had applied for 2 grants previously. One was through the Commonwealth Financing Authority, which is through DCED. The other one was through PennDOT. And we've been notified over the last approximate year that we did not receive either of those grants. So now they are starting to open back up again, and we are going to give it another try. This is for, like you indicated, the streetscape project, which would include replacement, all new curb, sidewalk, beauty strip, which would be a stamped brick concrete area, some new street trees and tree grates. And where the 2 mid-block crossings are at Hack, which would be Liberty Alley and Chapel Alley, there would be stormwater rain garden bump outs, which would also help not only improve stormwater runoff in the area and help the environment, but it also helps improve public safety in that it raises up slightly the pedestrian crossing so that it's easier for traffic to see the person because they'd be a little bit higher. So again, the total project cost is a little over 2.7 million. And the local match would come from the Lebanon Valley Stormwater Consortium, mainly to go towards the 4 rain gardens. And the other local match would come from residents and if we can get other grants.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your administration continuing to reapply for these grants and not giving up on them. You know, thank you. Who would like to take that resolution?
I'll take that.
Chris.
So was that Mr. Wertz?
Chris.
Oh, Chris, thank you.
It's me.
I'm sorry.
You're all good.
I don't Zoom so well, I'm sorry. Okay. Next resolution, establishing a policy of the city of Lebanon to ensure equal opportunity in housing for all persons regardless of race, color, sex, national origin, religion, family status, handicap, disability, age, and ancestry. And this isn't something new. Mary, isn't this something that we just have to renew often?
Well, it's something that DCED is requiring each grantee to pass a fair housing resolution annually. It's not something that they really were, I guess you could say, enforcing in the past, but they're getting more on top of their game, probably because of what's going on in our country. This is something that we already have a policy on our books for this, but this is to say specifically for fair housing. So we do a lot of education and outreach during the entire year on the importance of fair housing and that everyone, have equal treatment, regardless of whether you have children, regardless of your race, et cetera, as listed here before you tonight. We put a lot of information out on social media, our e-blast and things like that, that if someone feels that they have not been treated fairly, that there's an agency or agencies, depending on if you file something at a state level or a federal level, to help you to make sure that you are treated fairly. So again, this is pretty standard for us. It's nothing out of the ordinary for us.
I'll take that resolution. Is there any questions from council concerning any of these resolutions? Any questions from the media concerning any of these resolutions?
No.
Okay. Does anyone on the council have anything, anything to share for the good of the city?
Sorry, Pam had a question about.
Oh, sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I miss it? Oh,
You typed it in the chat.
okay. So Pam asked if it would be possible to get an intermodal grant to redo the roads in Coleman Park. Would it help if the Friends could provide some matching funds? So that's something that we can discuss. We do have part of the money that I guess I should have elaborated. We were just talking about adding Lehman Street to our list, but we do have in our plan, our proposal is to do some repair work in Coleman Memorial Park. It wasn't doing a full resurfacing from entrance to exit, but we had received a report last year, and that was something that we were working into the budget. So there definitely will be some improvements made, but it wasn't proposed to repave from entrance to exit. But I mean, we can be open to a discussion, Pam.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Pam. Can she hear us? Can Pam hear us?
Responded
I
okay in the
would assume
chat.
she can hear us because yes.
Oh, okay. She says,
Yes, she
yes.
can hear
Pam,
us.
thank you for attending the meetings. We, even though I can't see, I really appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. Okay. Is there anyone else from council, media, or Miss Pam that have any other questions for the good of the city? I do want to remind council that Ms. Cheryl has sent out a proposed budget meeting calendar for the month of November. So check it out and let her know if those dates will work so that she can get all that posted. And hearing no other questions, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All in favor? A second? All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Oh,
Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you on Monday.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good